All right, let's get started.
Oh,
Let's go.
Bernardo, you want
Yeah, so anybody, welcome today to our webinar on AI for financial services. We wanted to make a very industry-specific webinar today, so we could go deeper into some of the functionality and the use cases that some of our main partners have been developing with Stack AI that have gone to be successful in the financial services space. So whether you're a private equity fund or a hedge fund or working for a bank, you'll find in here a collection of use cases of a Gen AI that are going to be very helpful in scaling your operation. With this webinar will be recorded, so we're going to be sending over the recording afterward to all the guests, and it will be posted on social media. But it will be a source of you to explore how AI is being heard here. I'm joined today by our CEO Pablo, and me as Bernard are going to be also presenting a little bit of the use cases. But the idea is to have this opportunity to learn more about Stack AI as a platform and also learn more about how financial institutions can leverage Gen AI. As you know, as a starting point before we announce our next white paper on 6 use cases for AI agents in the financial services. So anybody welcome. By all means, as Paulo said, you can come to the chat and ask any questions in the meantime. We're gonna have a Q&A session at the end, in the last 5 minutes of the webinar. So let's use this chance to go over use cases, go over your key questions, and help you all become experts in Gen AI for finance. As part of this workflow, we're gonna be covering 4 use cases of Gen AI in finance, specifically four specific agents that you can implement in order to help your operation. The first one will be a research assistant agent, meaning one that will help analysts and employees at a financial firm easily research new equities, research new opportunities, using sources of data from the web, from different data providers and from internal documentation. Then afterwards, we're going to be building a system to extract data from 10K, 10Q filings, which is going to help have an AI agent look through these documents, extract some key information, and return it in a structured format. Then we're going to show how we can extend that agent in order to review company-wide documentation, explaining the performance over different reports, due diligence questionnaires, and information collected from multiple sources, and use that in Stack AI in order to build an agent that can research this out of all these documents and from it generate memos and reports. And finally, we're going to be showing a very advanced use case, a complex AI agent to automatically draft investment memos, meaning receive a combination of information of a company from company financials to information about the company from the web to company research from the fund, and use that to draft and structure investment memo following a particular format we care about, and return that into a clean, organized format. So without further ado, we're going to be jumping into a Stack AI platform and showcasing these use cases.
perfect?
Again,
Well,
there we go.
thank you, Bernard, for the intro. We're gonna start with a simple use case, and then you'll see that as we go to the other use cases, we're gonna build the complexity and the different user interfaces and different nodes. Okay, but for to start, let's build this research assistant that I'm sure is gonna be very handy for many of you. Let me stop sharing my PowerPoint. And let's get into the platform. Okay, so as you can see, right now I'm in Stack AI's dashboards with your projects. Okay, this is what you see when you land in Stack AI, and you see that we have the 4 use cases already built here. But for the first one, since it's quite straightforward, I'm gonna build it with you live. Whenever you want to build a project in Stack AI, you have to click this black button, a new project. I click here, and I'll see 2 routes. No, there's the quick start route or the workflow builder. The workflow builder is for more advanced use cases, so for the ones that you will see later on. But for this first one, let's go to the quick start and build a quick research assistant in a few minutes. Okay, imagine that you are an analyst or really anyone at the company, maybe a risk manager or someone in legal or in HR that wants to build or to build an agent to interact with some data and trigger some actions. Well, that would be the route to go. Let's build this research assistant. I click here and I go to this panel where I see on the left-hand side a ChatGPT interface. Okay, the thing about creating or going through this quick start route is that this is the only interface that you can play around with. Okay, the ChatGPT interface, which is one of the most popular one. No, when you want to interact with a large language model, the way to doing it is through a conversation with the large language model. So this is why we have interface here on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we see a menu, some configurations that we need to set up. So let's give it a name. Okay, let's give it a description. Here you'll see that you can pick any provider that you want. We always update Stack AI with the latest models out there. We have very good relationship with Anthropic, OpenAI, um, and Google, Meta, the ones in Silicon Valley and beyond. And you can see that you can very quickly jump, for example, from OpenAI to Anthropic and pick the latest model, Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Okay, you don't have to set up anything. We do that for you. So for now, I'm going to use the Anthropic Claude 3.7 Sonnet. This is the instruction. So now we're going to give some guidelines to this model on how to behave. So we're going to say you're an AI research assistant that helps an analyst um, with questions about companies. Okay. You have access to a knowledge base in SharePoint and also some tools. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to link this. LinkedIn, Yahoo Finance, web search. Okay, that you can use to improve your answer. Perfect. Now we give some general instructions on be brief, be polite, be professional, um, and with this, it's good enough for this first for this V0 of this agent. Conversational started. This is, we can add some initial prompts for. Imagine that the analyst sometimes doesn't know how to start a conversation with an agent. We can say, "Tell me more about," well, let's say Stack AI. What's of the economy right now? Um, uh, interest rates in US right now. Okay, and you'll see those conversations started appearing here at the bottom of your UI. Perfect. Now let's jump into the knowledge base section. This is internal knowledge that we give access to the large language model. Okay, in this case, I already have some documents indexed, okay, and ready for this large language model to consume from a specific folder that I selected in SharePoint. Okay, this is very useful for any company. Many of our customers and clients, they use SharePoint. So we have like a full suite of functionalities and features that help our clients interact with data that are in SharePoint in a secure way. So we're connecting with SharePoint. Here you see some advanced settings. Okay, so citations, we're gonna see some links to the specific documents and show steps. So we're gonna see how the agent works and what are the intermediate steps, and enable follow-ups so that a user can very easily click some suggestions on questions that can help the conversation flow. Finally, here at the bottom, you'll see a section called Tools. This is where really the agentic behavior of large language models comes into play. Okay, if I click here, I'll see a long list of tools that are available for these large language models to trigger. Okay, those tools or actions are not going to be triggered always. It's going to be for the large language model to decide when to do it based on the instructions that we provide here. Okay, so we said in this case that if it helps improve the answer to the user, it should use LinkedIn, Yahoo Finance, and web search. Okay, we're gonna do some tests now, and you're gonna see that sometimes you have to be super specific on when you want the tool to be triggered, but you get the sense of it. We can add or empower this large language model to take actions based on the list here. You can generate tickets, send emails, query a database, Okay, but for the purpose of this research assistant, I'm gonna search for the LinkedIn now, the LinkedIn tool, sorry. The web search. Sorry, it's search. Let me see, where is it? Web search. Very good. I'm gonna use the finance, the Yahoo Finance Analytics one as well. And I think for now this is good enough. Okay, and now let's ask, for example, um, tell me more about Tesla's stock prices last week. Okay, this is the testing environment. We see that it understood that it had to trigger a Yahoo Finance Analytics, and it did that. It took the information, and then it's also triggering a web search. It's gonna be missing some information here because it understands that it has to improve its answer with multiple tools with additional information. Very good. And now it's giving me information what happened on Monday, Tuesday, like super precise. Okay, and this is a simple agent that can be very handy for any research. Of course, you can change, for example, to Perplexity, okay, and use their deep research model if you want to improve even on the results that you can see in the screen. Very good. We could ask more things here, of course. And whenever you're ready with this was the testing environment. Okay, so this is where you give it a prompt here, you
Yeah.
see how it reacts, and then you can change the instructions. You can play around with multiple tools. But once you are ready, you click here, publish. Okay, you can. I mean, of course, Stack AI can be hosted on premise. So this is an option that we provide to our customers. But for the purpose of this demo, we're gonna just publish it as a web app for anyone really to interact with these large language models and with all the tools and the internal knowledge from SharePoint that we gave access to this specific model. Okay, it's triggering Perplexity because I use the Perplexity deep search, so it's gonna take some time to give us the response. But while this happens, I'm gonna show you once you build this agent, okay, that it's already very useful for many different positions in a financial services company. Um, you can click here, upgrade, and you'll go to the workflow builder. Okay, so this is where you see what's happening under the scenes. Okay, so it's like if we were taking a look at the black box that was this AI agent. And now that we see that we have a knowledge base here, that we have a files node here for the end user to upload documents, we have here the question from the user, so the query, the initial query, and here we have the Perplexity deep research node. Okay, this is where, and now I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna give the floor to Bernard to show us the next use case. But you'll see that this is where you build more complex use cases with multiple large language models that you can drag and drop from the sidebar here with actions and many things. And yeah, Bernard, why don't you take it over for the next use case?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Paulo. I'm gonna be sharing my screen now. And by the way, if you have any questions on the to do and on the use case that Paulo just showed you, by all means, feel free to come and request an answer from the chatbot window below. We're gonna be replying live. And very powerful agent indeed, what Pablo showed. Perhaps the most powerful part is that you can use this agent as a sub element of any other bigger workflow you create. So, in here, you can always rename it to like a research agent and have it be working as another tool. So now we're going to be building something a bit more complex and something a bit more tailored. We're going to be jumping into building an AI agent for researching and analyzing 10K 10Q reports. So what does this look like? A 10K filing is our filing, provided to the SEC by a publicly traded company that states all the financials and performance of the company with concrete details on how it performed over a given year or period. To achieve that, we're gonna go to the workflow builder instead of the AI assistant, instead of the quick start, and we're gonna build a workflow that receives a 10K 10Q assistant, extracts 4 pieces of information from it, And from those pieces of information, then actually categorizes them and gives us a detailed list from the agent, from when he found it on the thank you, and the place where he found it, the specific sentence within the document. So we're gonna click on new project. And before we jump in there, we're gonna see that within Stack AI, whenever you go to create your new workflow, you will be given a wide variety of templates describing use cases so that you can build within Stack AI for enterprise AI agents. Examples are AI agents over knowledge bases, AI agents that can look at InfoSec questionnaires, AI agents to like research databases, AI agents to write code, to analyze contracts, or to analyze, or to research a data warehouse in order to write reports or do analytics, and different examples for tools like drafting RFPs, doing compliance, or the likes. All these common use cases are built out of the box for you in Stack AI. And if you go to our resources, you'll find even more resources in the form of tutorials, blog posts, and beyond. For this agent, I'm going to start from scratch, just so you can see the full philosophy of the agent builder as you build your workflow. And I'm going to make sure to delete everything in detail. Now, for this agent, we're going to be looking at a few things. The first thing you want to do in Stack AI whenever you assign an agent is that you want to understand what are the inputs and the outputs of the agent. What do I expect? In my case, because I'm building a 10K 10Q analyzer, I will want to receive a 10K 10Q as a document. I want to extract 4 key facts out of it, or a collection of key facts in a nice report, and then be able to replicate it across many 10K 10Qs. For this, I'll need to be able to take the document and run OCR over it to extract everything that is hosted in the document. I need to be able to pass this to a collection of language models that can support all the text of the document while remaining very precise. And finally, I'll be able to get multiple outputs out of it. So when thinking about my inputs, the first input I will need will be a files node where my user can upload the 10K 10Q report. This will be the only input for the workflow, a file for the report. And I will name it so like we can have it here. Because the 10K 10Q will contain tables and a lot of unstructured information, we don't want to just take the text out of it plainly. We'll want to run OCR over it, which will take the document and it will extract all the data using a visual language model that can structure everything. I'm gonna remain this node for complexity, for simplicity, so you're gonna actually have it in one place. And I'm gonna pre-upload a filing in here so we can have it as a reference. I have a thank you report from Salesforce. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this document, I'm gonna run OCR over it, and then I'm gonna pass it to a large language model. Because 10K 10Qs can be quite lengthy, we need to pick a language model that can support that volume while still work within a private environment that is HIPAA, SOC 2, and GDPR compliant. For that end, we can use a Google language model, which is hosted behind a Google private cloud. And we can set it up such that whenever a 10K 10Q is received, the workflow will send this filing to this Google language model, Gemini, this Google language model, or we can put Gemini 1.5, Gemini 2.0, Gemini 2.5. I'll pick Gemini 2.0 because it's the most appropriate for production. And I will tell you in the instructions, you are an AI assistant that analyzes 10K 10Q filings. Your job is to read the document and extract information from it. I'm gonna tell it a few more things, respond in bullet points because I want to have something that's very easy to read. And I'll tell it, give citations for where in the document did you find each source. And then in a section called the prompt, essentially we'll tell it what the inputs the language model is receiving are. In this case, it has no actual text input connected. So I need to tell it what it has. So I'll tell it in here, thank you. And as you see in the instructions below, if I type the /key, I'll be able to like reference any of the inputs of the language model. So I'll be able to reference this 10K 10Q filing. Once I have that, I can add an output node where my language model can receive this document, it will process everything, and then display this response on the output. And then I'll configure it in the settings by telling it that it doesn't have to have memory. I would like it to stream data. I would want it to give citations. I could ask it to give me charts as well with any visual information we need or any information. I wanted to know what the data time is. And I could ask it to encrypt any private information or to put guardrails, which I don't need. Now, I will need to ask it what questions do I want to extract from it. So I'll tell it initially to just answer me what was the overall performance of the company, stock per earnings, and its outlook for future growth. Pablo, I don't know if you have any ideas for what questions to put in later on, but let's do this as an example. So we can go from there. So once it's set up, I'm gonna auto rearrange the workflow by clicking on this button so you can see that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this workflow. And what this will do is that it will take this document, it will load it into our OCR language model, which will go page by page, extracting all the text in the pages of the document, making sure that if there's a table or if there's a chart, it takes the table, translates it into a readable format. If there's a chart, it translates it into a readable chart format as well, where you can see numbers very well defined. If there's an image, it can describe what the image contains, and does that while retaining the structure of the document with headings, titles, and the likes. Once it completes that analysis, it's going to pass that document to a language model, which it will operate under these instructions, knowing what it has to do, analyze 10K, 10Q filings, read the document, extract information from it, respond in bullet points, give citations for each, define each source. And it will know that whatever came from the extraction of this document will be a 10K, 10Q, and that the question it needs to answer is this one. And once it has everything, it will go and it will stream the data with citations on this side of the language model. Give me a detailed response. You can see the step-by-step by going into this section where you can see the actual progress of how long it took to generate everything. And once generated, we'll pass it to a language model, which will start responding, telling me everything I want here. For the first quarter 2024, Salesforce had this performance, revenue, earnings per share, cash, remaining obligations, share repurchase, restructuring, and these were the focus. However, economic factors, this is what you see. That's a great starting point, but what happens if I want to go beyond just asking one question to the language model? What if I want to ask multiple questions? I can easily duplicate this block by creating Command Control C and Control V, the classic copy paste option. I can have a second language model that has the exact same instructions, but has a second answer, second question. Paulo, what would you ask in this case?
So I would ask, what are the like to summarize the management discussions and analysis?
Yeah. So I could have here a second question. And something special about Stack AI is that agents in Stack AI can have multiple inputs and multiple outputs. So I could easily add in here a second output that takes that document and in parallel extract this second output. Again, I will make sure that the settings are the same. It streams data, it has citations, doesn't have memory. And if I run this workflow, it will be a bit faster this time because it will cache the parsing of this document. It will take this document, run OCR over it, pass it to its two language models in parallel, and from it, answer these questions in detail. It'll tell you like these are the topics that the MDNA addressed. I could tell you, for instance, our instruction, just respond to the question of the user. Just to have just so it doesn't repeat itself. I will give it in here question. And here, question. Performance. I'll give it in here the same instruction. Maybe I could add a couple more options, for you to see, like how do you add more questions and answers? But I don't know, probably any other idea.
Yeah. For example, another one would be to extract and summarize information about risk factors.
Okay. So I'm gonna connect in here. I'm gonna tell in here, summarize risk factors.
Yeah.
On the business, and maybe we can add one more. Maybe we can keep it this way too. The business.
Yeah. One more.
You can see this. Yeah, so one more.
Yeah. To extract information about debt and liquidity.
Debt and liquidity. Wow, Pablo, there you go. So, okay, so you can have this information, debt and liquidity. You can see it's quite straightforward to give all that information on debt and liquidity. And with that, I could give it, and now have a workflow with 4 outputs. I could pre-label the outputs with details, in here, like this output will be labeled as financial overview. I will label this output in here, management discussions. I will label this output here, risk factors. And finally, I will label this output here, the, debt and liquidity. liquidity. If I look at my workflow now, I will have these 4 outputs in parallel. I'll be able to run through it. And if I run it, it again will take the document, it will run OCR over it much faster this time, pass it to each of these language models, which will all run in parallel to answer my 4 questions using the text I requested. So here's a financial overview of the company. Here are the management discussions that we saw. These are the risk factors on the company. And these are the different debt and liquidity factors on the company, summarizing everything in a readable way. Of course, telling me in detail where it found everything within each document for me to easily preview the source of the data from inside the file itself. So with that, we can have a tool that reviews the documents, can summarize and extract information from it, and in the end, put into production. Now that we build our workflow, how do we make this tool easy to consume by our actual analysts in the firm? They probably won't want to interact with it in this interface. So for that, I can save this workflow. I can publish it just like Pablo did with our previous agent. And once published, we will create an interface where you can export this in a way that is easy to read and interact for non-technical users. The first interface you can create, as you can see, is what we call the form interface, where you can specify, hey, I want an agent that when you upload the document, I can give it a name, 10K Thank You Analyzer. I can specify which inputs do I want the user to be able to provide. In this case, just the document. I could even make it required if needed. So I can upload a 10K Thank You reporting here. And then I can see which outputs do I want. I can select them individually. I can pick the output 1, 2, 3, minus discussion factors, data liquidity. I can give my own logo. I can add my own messaging. I can fully white label this interface, my own branding and display. If I want to change my logo if needed, I could do so as well. Pick any diagram I have created. I can also control who can access this layer. You probably want only people in our company to access it. So I can enable so that only people with single sign-on access can access this interface. I can make sure that only specific emails that people can use it. So for instance, if I add here a specific email, I will constrain a particular user to access it. And if I now run this workflow, it will show me that only a person with this email will access it. Otherwise, it will require me to log in with single sign-on. If single sign-on is too complicated, you can always protect it with a password to make sure that only users with that password can actually enter the interface. Without it, they will be unable to access it. And anybody that has this interface will now be able to come, upload a 10K Thank You, and get the answer to these questions by, again, having an LLM. Take this document, pass it through an OCR reader, extract all the text in it, structure in tables, charts, paragraphs, all the information while retaining the structure of the document. And then once it parses everything, which is a process that can take a few seconds to a minute, depending on the length and complexity of the document, pass it to these 4 language models in parallel that will take a look at all the text of the document, all structured, and then from it, start answering the questions and requests that we had. Of course, all of this while making sure that they follows your instructions of responding in bullet points, giving citations, and the likes. Which is what it's doing here, is giving me citations to where it's getting every answer. I can even see, if I click in here, which paragraph has this information. This is the revenue, this is how it is growing. And you can see, oh, this is the concrete paragraph of the 10K Thank You report where it found everything. I can preview how the document was parsed. I can preview how it has been analyzed directly, because being a complex PDF, it will contain a lot of text. And I can do this for every single of my LLM, so I can have a nice way to preview and organize my outputs. Giving you a tool that now analysts all about the firm can use this to save a ton of time, because extracting data from these documents can take hours to days, many times if needed. While a language model can look at this, be very detailed, and be targeted in order to look for specific things you care about within these 10K Thank You reports. And with that, we have shown this first use case. I know it took a bit longer than the one Pablo showed, but I think it goes into the details of how you go and build on top of it to take an idea of something that goes from an idea to production with a very tailored specific logic in a drag workflow builder. So I know, Pablo, you have a few more use cases you want to show, so I'm going to pass the screen to you. Go for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Bernard. It was very, very detailed and exhaustive explanation of the workflow builder. So that was super good. There was a question about if we could consolidate everything into a final large language model that will review all the sections. And the answer is yes. So that's the beauty of the workflow builder, that you can customize it to your needs. So imagine that I'm going to go back real quick. we have here the 4 different sections. You can always add a final large language model and take the different sections and put them together in a like a in a summary report or something like that. Okay. You can always do this. You connect the outputs from the 4 large language models into a new one, and then you add a final large language model. You'll just have to be careful here to to make the reference to the previous large language model. Okay, so you say that the financial performance section is in here. Okay, and then I'll say question 1, then the risk factors here. Okay. So, okay, I think it's like that. And then the final one was debt and liquidity. And what this will do is it's gonna take the results from the 4 large language models that we had, and it's gonna synthesize it to a final output. And if I click publish here and I go to export, I'll see here on the left-hand side that I can show this output in the final UI. Okay, you can have intermediate outputs that you don't necessarily want to show in the UI, but and this is where you can activate or deactivate outputs, and the same thing with inputs. So maybe, for example, you want to go back here and you like to add another files node or another input node with like an example or an example about what you're expecting, no? How good looks like. So you could use this and attach it, for example, to this model that will focus on extracting financial statements. And you can provide some templates on previous examples that you did yourself to show the model how you want the language to look like, the format to look like, the length, everything, so that the model has this context as well on top of the file, the full file that is receiving. We'll just need to go here and say use these 2 templates as reference for your okay, and we'll connect these two. Either you can attach it a PDF or just like a written paragraph on how an analyst would do it themselves. Okay, this is super important for the model to understand how good or how bad looks like, and have some examples that it can use when generating those responses. Okay, you can do that for all the different models here, and this is super important for the model to understand how to write. Okay, fantastic. Now let's go back, and I'm gonna build on top of the use case that Bernard created. Okay, I'm gonna go to the company due diligence. Okay, imagine that now. Okay, it's good that we extracted some facts from a file, but what if we had 5 files, for example, from a company, and we wanted to do some due diligence and maybe draft some paragraphs of a report or get some insights on multiple documents. Okay, in that case, we already have the architecture, okay, which was the one that Bernard built with the different information that we want to extract from the file. Now it's a matter of using a different UI. If you go here, you'll see all the different UIs that we have. In this case, I'm using the batch processing interface. Okay. As you can see, it's the same configuration as the form. You have 1 input and we have 4 outputs, which are the different information that we are going to extract. But here in the UI, you see that we have multiple rows. Okay, we have multiple rows. Here we have, you see the column that it's the report. And then as columns, instead of rows of the form, now as columns, we have the different facts or information that we want to extract from each one of these documents. Okay. Now if I click here and I bulk upload, I could select the specific column. Okay, in this case, it's going to be the contract column, and I could select multiple files. I just need to click uploading, and I'll see them popping up in the different rows. Okay, there you go. You see, I mean, I already run some execution for the files, but you see that you can bulk upload files, and then you're gonna run some executions and extract information for each one of the files. Okay, the good thing about this is that if I go to the final UI here, once this is extracted, okay, so imagine that we uploaded plenty of files from the company, okay, a management presentation, a thank you, the annual presentation, okay, many of them. Of course, I can go and see and audit how the information was extracted for each one of the reports. But the good thing now is that I can click here and I can chat with the table and I can say, provided the information that you extracted, write me an overview section for an investment demo. Okay. And I say run. It's gonna take information from the table for each one of the documents, and it's gonna do whatever I'm gonna ask. Okay, so we've seen this as a use case, as a very useful use case for analysts to extract information from multiple files and then ask to perform another task on top of it in a more interactive way. Okay, because once you execute here and you extract data from the files, that's it. You cannot do more. But you have this option of chatting with the table where you'll see this ChatGPT interface where you can ask for additional things. Okay, you can even upload another file that you forgot to add, or a template. For example, you can upload a template of some reports and tell it to fill the report with information from the table. Very good. So this is a very useful application for doing due diligence on companies. Now let me go back and I'll show you one last example. Okay, let me go back and I'm gonna show you the investment memo agent, which is similar to the 10K, 10Q data extraction agent, but now we're gonna consolidate all the different models into a template, okay? And we're gonna feed more information to it. It's not only extracting data from a file, but it's gonna take information from a knowledge base, okay? That it can be, for example, SharePoint. Okay, we're gonna look for information that we have on a specific company. Okay, let me see. Financial reports, for example. Okay, I'll see them here. We're gonna ask for a specific company. It's gonna trigger a web search as well. So we're gonna look for the top 6 results in the web for that specific company and scrape the content of it and then send it downstream to the large language models. We're gonna allow the end user as well to upload some documents, for example, management presentations or financials. We're gonna trigger a LinkedIn search to find information about the teams, and we're gonna send all this information to the large language models that you see here. Okay, even though you see that the wires, there's no wires from, for example, this knowledge base into this second large language model, the information is flowing from left to right, okay, from upstream to downstream, and this model has access to this information as well through this first large language model. Okay, this is just for, I mean, this helps once you build very complex use cases. This helps not having to have wires going to all the different nodes, but simplify the visual aspect of it. Very good. So we have some knowledge here that are some information that is flowing to the different large language model. We have a first one that is going to focus on drafting the business overview, okay, with some detailed instructions here. This is where we tell the model which information to consider and how. Okay, we are saying the same as what Bernard did before. We are telling it to provide some citations as well, so the sources of where it took each one of the insights. But we are breaking down this report into multiple large language models focusing on different sections. No? The second one is going to focus on the competitive landscape, the third one on the financial overview, and the final one is going to give us an executive summary. Okay, now that we have broken down the investment memo generation task into 4 different models, okay, and this is generally speaking a best practice to try to break down a task into multiple tasks with different large language model focusing on each. This will increase the accuracy dramatically. Instead of asking one large language model to draft the entire investment memo that can be very long, you're gonna break the different sections into multiple ones, and this will help you be more precise here in the prompt and provide specific things that the model needs to follow per section, and also with the amount of information that they will handle. You can make so that this business overview takes information only from sources that are relevant for this business overview. Maybe the financial overview needs a different set of documents. You can, by breaking it down like this, you can do that. And finally, I'm going to show you the output node. If you go here to the output node and you click here the settings, you'll see that we are using a template to tell not to write exactly what the model is giving us back, but we are connecting here the four large language model into the different sections where we want the content to be injected. Okay, we see that we added investment memo, and this is something that it's going to be always the same. We don't want the large language model to generate this text, and we are providing here the name of the company. The same for the executive summary, the title. We know what's going to be the title. There's no need for the large language model to come up with a title. We put it, but we tell the large language model to fill the section here. Okay, and the same for the business overview, competitive landscape, financial overview, and so forth. Okay, this is a very simplified investment memo template. You can remove it and you can upload your own. So if you have your own investment memo, okay, let's see if I find one. Okay, you can upload it, and then you'll see it here showing up. Okay, so you can later tell a specific large language model to inject it in a specific section. Very nice. So, and once you're ready, of course, you have to publish it. You go to the export tab, and you can use the form interface since we're gonna have, well, it's true that we only have one output, but we don't want to have a conversation with the model. We want to tell it the company, Stack
And you're
AI.
gonna have multiple inputs too.
Yeah, and we can have multiple inputs and multiple files that we want to upload. Okay, in this case, you see here in the field section of the settings that I'm not exposing the financial documents. Okay, maybe it's like a template that I want a large language model to have, but I don't want to expose it to the end user, and I want the end user just to upload this management presentation. This is where I can set this up. I can make them required as well. Okay. And I can add some predefined options. Okay, in this case, no, but just for you to know. And then in the output, in this case, it's only one. Anyway, I'm gonna click submit and see how it generates the response. I can of course change the
Even though
name.
we are running out of time a little bit, but if you go to the workflow builder, you can see an example already in the workflow builder.
Yeah, 1 second. Well, this is gonna generate investment memo generation. Okay, load the required. Yes. While we wait, let me go here. You'll see an example of an investment memo, okay, with an executive summary, with a business overview, with a competitive landscape, with some sources as well. And really the way you want the model to give you the responses. Very nice. Okay, I think that's a wrap up. I'm gonna just launch this again and yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for today. We have 12 minutes now for open questions, right, Bernard?
Well, the webinar ended at 3 minutes ago, but we can stay a little bit longer for questions.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you
So,
enjoyed. Yeah. And
yeah. Yeah, hope everybody enjoyed the Q&A. I know the chat has a few questions in here about synthesizing questions, why tools don't show up. Feel free to come up with more questions, and if you have to leave because we are over time, you can always reach out to our team in support@stackai.com. If you want to learn more about how Stack AI works in enterprises, you can reach out at support@stack-ai.com or at enterprise@stackai.com. Our team is always here to help. We love learning about newer use cases, so you have ideas for use cases, email it to us. We want to help you build them. We want to learn how you're building. We want to learn what ideas you have and work on top of it. But I think that's a wrap, Pablo.
yep, that's a wrap.
Amazing.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much for coming.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you.